Everybody's copying each other's direct mail pieces and then wondering why it's not working. If you're a serious real estate investor in 2025 looking for deals and not hype, I want you to listen up. I'm still printing money off direct mail for myself and for my clients like we're still back in 2018, and I'm gonna show you why nobody can touch it. Everything you do when it comes to direct mail is either adding trust or detracting from it, and there's 7 ways you can mess this up. Let's get into the first thing. So the first variable that we've got is the return mail address. Once upon a time, I royally messed one of these up. I was going and setting up local, virtual mailboxes for one of my franchisees, and I snagged an address, was prepared to use it, flicked it over to him to get his approval, and he called me just dying laughing. I hadn't Googled the address that this professional website gave me, and it was a local sex shop. So they're selling you-know-what out the front and taking mail in the back. Thank God he Googled it, because I would have been mortified if that had gone out on our marketing. Which brings me to my first point. You want your return mail address to be something local, not something out of town, but something that shows hey, you're in the same market as the folks that you're trying to serve. I definitely don't recommend using a PO box. I know that they can be convenient, but typically people use PO boxes to hide their address. We don't want people who we're hoping will sell us their house or do business with us wonder why are we hiding from them? If you don't want to use a virtual mail address and you don't want to use a PO box, a lot of USPS locations will let you write the address out as a suite. So it would be 123 Main Street, suite number 123. Even if it's a box, particularly if you're in a downtown urban area, that looks infinitely better. People want to do business with folks that they like, so I always use an individual's name on my return mail address, not a company. So it would be Ryan Dossey, not Sold Fast, for instance. The second variable that we've got is what sort of stamp are we going to use? When it comes to postage, we've got first class, which is going to be the most expensive, and we have pre-sort, which is typically a printed stamp. At the end of this video, I'm going to talk about when you would use what. But if we're putting a physical stamp on the piece, ideally we want to have a little bit of fun with it, or maybe even make it comical. In the past, I've used art stamps or even Betty White. When my team at Ballpoint Marketing is doing my stuff, we're typically buying stamps that aren't that regular, boring American flag deal, because that just feels like marketing. So the third place that we're either adding credibility or detracting from it is who we actually address this letter to. If you're just buying data from somewhere like Deal Machine or PropStream, which are kind of the 2 big data providers for real estate investors and agents, often that data can have kind of some funky things in it, like a middle initial. I don't know about you, but I'm not typically getting mail that's addressed to Ryan C. Dossey. So you might want to purge things like middle initials prior to doing your direct mail. If I catch you just sending mail to property owner, I'm gonna get on a plane, show up at your house, and I'm gonna kick your dog.
Excuse me, what are you doing?
If you're trying to buy the most expensive thing somebody owns, you should probably at least know their name. One of the other big missteps we see here is properties where there's 2 property owners. If John and Mary Smith both own the property and you mail the letter to John, Mary's going to get home early, see that John got a letter, wonder what it is, and open it. And when it's about the property that she owns too, she's going to call you, but it's not going to be to sell you the house. It's going to be to give you an earful. We hear this all the time at our inbound call center called Porter. You're pissing people off instead of making them want to do business with you. So what we do is if the last name matches, we put both of them on there. So it would go to John and Mary versus just to John or just to Mary, whose feelings we're going to hurt. If the last name doesn't match, we just pick the primary. One other super common pitfall that we see is if you're marketing to trusts, for instance, and it's the John and Mary Irrevocable Living Trust of 2017 for the kids and family, sort of a name, and you try to mail to that. What we personally do is turn that into just the Smith family. We look smarter than anybody else that's marketing to that person, and we actually know who we're reaching out to. There is a ton that goes into not self-sabotaging when it comes to your direct mail efforts. If you want my team to do it for you, just go to ballpointmarketing.com/schedule. If not, make sure you stick around to point 6. It is by far the most important and valuable in this entire video. If it's not the most valuable part of this video for you, leave a comment flaming me for having wasted your time. The fourth variable that we've got is the postmark, or where the mail was actually sent from. Like, where did you drop it off? Now, at the end of this video, we're going to talk about cheaper campaigns, things like postcards and pre-sorted stamps, gets your rates down so you can get in front of more people. But if you've got a list of properties or listings that you really want to land, you might consider paying for first-class postage. It's more expensive, but it's going to have that local postmark. So like what we do with those at Ballpoint, they get inserted, stamped, sealed, shipped to you locally. So you're cutting them open and dumping them in like one of the blue USPS boxes. So it's got that local tag to it. This tends to matter more in more expensive markets. I had a client in downtown Los Angeles that was sending mail with an LA return mail address to people in LA, but they were calling wondering why his mail was postmarked in a different state. We were taking the calls for him at Call Porter, and we were getting a lot of like, hey, why are you pretending that you're local? In more expensive markets, people are more savvy, and it really matters. How many people didn't call to complain about that? They just threw his mail in the trash. The fifth thing that we've got is what kind of envelope are you actually sending out? The bulk majority of the mail that I do comes in like an invitation size piece. It's like a 5x7. It's like what you'd get a birthday card in, and they're typically full color. It's either done for my brand, or we've got like 6 or 7 different like off-the-shelf styles we use that are everything from like granite to happy birthday looking to like floral. I'm personally not a big fan of like windowed envelopes to cut down on costs, or like the big, number 10 for an 8.5 by 11, unless maybe you're writing where it's going with pens, but again, that feels pretty like marketing-y to me. So love me or hate me, we're at the meat and the potatoes of this video, which is going to be the copy. What are you actually saying in the inside of the piece, and how does it look and present? I hyped this up a little bit, so I'm going to hit you with the most valuable stuff right out of the gate to prove that I haven't wasted your time. When it comes to the copy we put in our letter, we want to pre-handle the common objections that you're getting. So for instance, if your mail is going out in your name and then you're trying to use an answering service like Call Porter, you're going to get folks that call asking for you that only want to talk to you and are upset that you aren't there. Well, what I do to overcome that is I put in my copy, if you're interested, give my office a call at blank. In their brain, they're not expecting to get me. They're expecting that they're calling my office, and I may or may not be in. This is brand new for me. I've literally only done this on my past 2 campaigns, but we were realizing that we were starting to run into the objection of like, hey, you mailed me, what's my offer? You don't need to even come look at it. So what we started to add to my pieces to pre-handle that objection is, hey, if you're interested in selling, give my office a call and let's set up a time to meet. I can't take credit for this tip. It came from one of our guys in CCF, Jacob Klein, but he started adding the verbiage of call or text to all of his letters. What he noticed was it about doubled his response rate. He was giving people an option that was more comfortable than picking up the phone. I don't know about you, but if I could like text a store instead of having to call and pick up the phone, I'm going to do that all day long. Chances are that you're also buying your phone number from some sort of a CRM or call tracking tool of some sort. And it's super important that you Google that phone number. We've been talking about my mistakes, so let's just continue that trend. I once bought a tracking phone number for my business in Indianapolis, and upon Googling the phone number, I actually found out that phone number had been used by another real estate investor that was arrested for fraud. Now, I don't know how many sellers actually Googled that phone number, but nobody in their right mind is calling the home buyer whose phone number pops up with fraud and jail time if you look it up. We also want to consider, is there any sort of like unique selling proposition that you've got? For instance, I already said on my mail, I'm telling people, hey, I want to go meet you in person. If you're making offers over the phone, putting that on your mail piece, hey, call me and I'll make you an offer over the phone without even viewing your home, is gonna get you more calls than pretty much anything anybody else is trying. Other examples might be like, do you help with moving? Or if you're a real estate agent, do you have cash buyers and can you guarantee it will sell in X amount of time? Anything that's your competitive edge that you can put out in your marketing is all but guaranteed to boost your response rate. So we've talked about how everything you do either adds or subtracts from their trust in your ability when it comes to direct mail. And that even comes down to like, how thick is the paper that you're sending your pieces out on? A really thick, almost like borderline cardstock letter insert feels way better than just like basic copy paper that just feels like marketing. In the past, on some of my custom pieces, I've even watermarked the inside of the piece so it matches the design on the envelope, making it really feel cohesive. My goal is to make them feel like I've never gotten anything like this before. If you're putting a logo or like a headshot on it, please, please, please make sure it's a high quality image. You don't want this to be blurry or fuzzy looking. On that note, if your logo is some like Fiverr gaudy golden chrome thing, you might just be better off leaving it off. My pieces typically have my logo at the top, my copy in the middle, and my website simply at the bottom. When it comes to my URL, I'm typically just doing my home page. I'm not trying to do like a tracking link. Nobody's gonna do soldfast.com/Missouri/St. Louis. They're not going to put that in for me. Another pitfall that I see is people using QR codes, hoping to drive traffic to a landing page and generate conversions that way. And I think that in most instances, it's not done well. If we only get to pick like one action that somebody's going to take, I'm hoping they're going to call or text me. That's why that's what's in my copy. The only reason my URL is on there at all is for credibility. Like, hey, are these folks legit? Speaking of credibility, if you're Better Business Bureau accredited, if you're veteran owned, any of those kind of like unique badges that you can throw on there, we slap those on our direct mail pieces all the time. What I will not do, I will not lie to sellers in my copy on any of my marketing materials. I'm not telling them their offer's expired, I can only buy one house this month, or any other BS. It's hard for a relationship to succeed that starts out with a lie. Our seventh tip is going to be, what is your drop date? When does your direct mail actually go out? Now, this assumes that you're having direct mail delivered to you locally for that local postmark. What I always recommend is to put your mail into circulation on Saturday. That typically gets it there Wednesday or Thursday of the following week. What you don't want to have happen is drop it on Thursday or Friday, where it all hits on Monday with all of the other catalogs and BS. Plus they're hungover, they had to go to work and didn't want to anyway. Middle of the week, when they're kind of in their routine versus annoyed that they have to be back, is going to be your best bet. So we've covered the variables, but we need to address, when do we do more expensive pieces versus when do we try to go lower cost or more bulk? The most expensive piece that I use is a 5x7, it's handwritten with robots on the outside, it's written with robots on the inside, it's sealed, it's stamped, it's shipped to us locally, we're dropping that locally. That is the most expensive piece, and I use that on my most expensive data or my most valuable lists. For instance, if I'm prospecting to commercial assets where there's really not that many of them, like self-storage units, and I've got 400 or 500, I want to put my absolute best foot forward, nailing all of these variables versus trying to save a couple cents. Other examples of that would be like if I'm driving for dollars or if I'm pulling niche lists from county. If I'm getting in front of folks that I don't think anybody else is getting in front of, these are kind of my like secret sauce type folks. We've also had clients not in real estate, like authors and coaches, want to send letters to their top people, and I would definitely recommend something very nice and premium for that versus more bulky. One consideration to keep in mind is if you go into cheaper marketing materials like pre-sorted letters, for instance, you're not going to get return mail. Now, the problem with that is USPS says that something like 3 to 5% of mail bounces back returned to sender. There's instances where it's higher, there's instances where it's lower. But if you're marketing to the same list consistently and you're not getting those back, That means you could be wasting 5 or even 10% of your budget. So getting your return to senders back and removing them from your prospecting lists, I mean, that right there is like a month or two of free mail every year. If you're pulling more bulk lists like absentee owners or seniors with equity, I fully understand going with lower cost pieces when your campaigns are in the 5, 10, 15, we have some clients in the 40, 50,000 pieces a month range. In those instances, you're probably either going to do a postcard or what we call a hybrid letter. So a hybrid letter, we write the outside with pens and then the inside is printed. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. Those pre-sorted are about the same cost as a postcard. So if you want the letter, but at postcard pricing, that's kind of your option. What I'm personally doing for myself and my franchisees is a lot of postcards and the hybrid greeting letters with the pre-sort postage, trying to get in front of more people for a lower cost. You kind of run into that. Do I want to hit one person or would I rather get in front of two? If you're doing direct mail in 2025, this is what you needed to know.